I remember the rehearsals for the Glenn Gould substitution much better than I do remember rehearsals for the Young People's concerts. What I remember was that I was allowed to attend for the Young People's concerts the run-throughs that Bernstein did early in the morning with the teleprompter about what he was going to say. And so I got to be there and I got to see the screen and I got to watch the teleprompter. And one of the biggest things in my life, I'm not being hyperbolic. I mean, it sounds hyperbolic, but I don't think so. One of the biggest things I learned was from watching Bernstein, all the adjectives. If he said the Third Symphony of Brahms is one of the most inventive, fascinating, the next time he repeated it, even just for rehearsal, he would not use those same words. He would rather stumble than do verbatim descriptions. And so the teleprompter guys were going nuts because they were constantly changing words. You know, they would write on it was a rolling thing, not like modern times, you know, and they would change. And then if he did another rehearsal, they would have to change again. And by the time he actually did the broadcast, you know, the real taping, the airing that would go out, which was taped, it was live, went out live, but was taped, he would use new words again. So for me, that was a giant. I can't tell you strongly enough what an impression that made on me. And that's why they were, well, I mean, it's not the only reason. It's one of the reasons they were so successful, because he was absolutely, genuinely spontaneous. I mean, and he knew that he had to be spontaneous, and he was willing to put himself under the pressure to be spontaneous, to make his mind keep clicking over, rather than you watch people on television and once they get some set sentence, they repeat that, 50 times. He would never do that. And that for me was the two greatest things, if I may, sorry to jump ahead, that moment of watching him with the teleprompter, and then jumping ahead. Well, I substituted for Gould and we played 2 concerts. And while I was there was no advance. They said, well, you're playing Thursday night and Friday afternoon. Columbia Records and Maestro Bernstein want to record the list Sunday night. So I'd never made a recording. I didn't know anything about recordings. But Sunday night we did it. And the biggest impression, and there were many, from Bernstein, I mean, musical and great performances and, work ethic and all that. But we were in the hall, no audience, nobody to impress. And so he said to me at one point, he said, now look, we've done the piece. You never made the same mistake twice in the same place. So everything is covered. We can edit, which I barely understood what he meant. I sort of knew. In other words, I took that to mean we can cheat and pretend that you could play this piece straight through without wrong notes. Anyway, and he said, so we're going to start from here, 3/4 of the way through, and go to the end. And he very seriously looked at me and he said, no matter what happens, I don't want you to stop. If you stop, they stop rolling, it will cost thousands of dollars, which we don't have. And I took that very seriously, and so I said, yes, Maestro, of course. And so we started, and about, 12, 16 bars in, he starts singing at the top of his lungs. And he ruined the take. And everybody he said, something, oh shit, or something like that. And everybody was like, oh, horrified, and oh man, geez, wow. And for me, it was fabulous because I thought, wow, so all that stuff, all that enthusiasm, all that emoting, almost ungovernable expression and lack of fear of being a fool in the act of performance, that's all true. None of that is baloney. Because, he was a practical human being. I mean, he knew how to do his business. He wouldn't have had to, he wouldn't have, for any reason, ruined intentionally a take. He couldn't help himself because he wanted something to happen in that place that wasn't going on. And so those are the two big learning things for me from Bernstein. That they were the biggest gifts I got from Bernstein. I mean, maybe, okay, not the biggest. The biggest was, I always tell people, yeah, what are you going to do? A guy like Leonard Bernstein comes and he has a platter and he says, here, kid, you want a career? It's yours. I guess that's the biggest gift. But after that, in real life experience, that was it.